Let me guess, you're currently avoiding to draw and instead you're looking for art-related content such as speed paint so you don't feel as bad about it. Honestly, been there, done that, I won't judge you. In fact, I'm going to provide you with exactly that speed paint today, so enjoy watching. Maybe you're gonna get inspired afterwards, maybe you're gonna pick up a pen right after, maybe you won't, that's okay, you do you. But anyways, enjoy the speed paint. I just used my magic brush that you can buy for $1,000 on my page and then it does all the work for you. Alright, thanks for watching my speed paint, just kidding. I really like this piece so much that I had it printed and it's hanging in my bedroom currently. I made this in June 2022, so about 3 years ago, and it took me 8.5 hours. If you like my content and haven't already, please consider leaving a follow, I appreciate it a lot, but without further ado, let's get started. I drew this in Procreate, and as always I sketched out the pose. First of all, I knew that I wanted him to be sitting this way, and next I also wanted his eyes to be covered. So I started sketching those hands, and I even added more shapes to cover up his mind. I really wanted to go for this clouded mind motif, basically, not being able to see, covered face, clouded head, something of that sort. I even got myself to draw a sort of background, so props to me for that, actually proud of me, even though it's not much, it's not even a complex background, but come on, let me have this. I usually avoid backgrounds at all costs. After that, I indicated some first values so that I can already get a feel for the picture. With that, the general idea and composition is already laid down, and since I was basically happy with that, I continued refining the sketch. This is not the line art already, but like I had the general silhouette and shape of the body first of all, but now I sketched the stuff that's on top of that, the more detailed stuff like the clothes, the facial features, stuff like that. Later on, we'll also get into the actual line art. If you know my works already, maybe also from TikTok or wherever, I really like this motif of a clouded mind or like covered eyes in general, of course, but yeah, sort of clouds or a covered head, covered mind, or like something flowy is also oftentimes a motif in my art. Yeah, here you can see me draw in the hands. I admit I had a reference for the hands here, if I remember correctly. I don't have the pics anymore, it was a long time ago. So yeah, I just know I had a reference for them. Now it's time for the line art, and since I was drawing the hands anyways, I decided to keep drawing right there. After that, we're of course gonna get into the rest of the line art, so for the body, the details of the face, etc, etc. And if you watch my live streams, if you've heard me yep somewhere in some form before, you will probably already know that line art is one of my least favorite steps, so yeah, but we'll get through it anyways. In hindsight, I probably could have made the pose a bit more dynamic if I had implemented the contrapposto a bit more. If you don't know what the contrapposto is, check out my video about dynamic art. Basically, that would mean more movement in the shoulders and the hips so that it's not that stiff. But honestly, I also kind of like that vibe for this piece because there's supposed to be some sort of tension. Now you see me paint in everything with solid colors, so I can add the actual colors with clipping masks later on. Sorry for the poor quality when zooming in. I want to zoom in to make sure that you can actually see what I'm drawing, but at the same time, these are just the old Procreate recordings, which are not the best quality when you zoom in. As promised, time for some actual colors. I decided to go for a sort of complementary color scheme. I went with a brownish red for the upper parts, and for that water I went with that greenish turquoise. Right after, I'm adding some shading. I probably used a multiply layer for that. I'd have to check it, but honestly, I don't feel like doing that. I usually use a multiply layer, so that's probably the case here too. As always, I ask myself, where do I want the light source to be so that I can actually do the shading the right way? In this case, I decided to have the light behind him. On top of that, I decided to keep the shading green too. Then I started adding the lighting, which is from behind, of course. In the beginning, I made it green, but later I decided to change up the color to pink. In hindsight, I think green would have looked cool too, and of course it would have made sense environment-wise, but I just thought that'd be too boring. We'd only have these two complementary colors, so I wanted one more color to actually pop out more, which is the pink in this case. But of course, I didn't stop there. I didn't only use variation in the colors, but also variation in the values. So you see me adding darker parts here and there, which I find add a lot to the piece in the end. Sometimes I tend to forget a bit about the values, so I try to actively remind myself of it more, because values are so important, honestly. Which is why I like to do some value thumbnailing, especially in the beginning phase of figuring out the composition of a piece. Colors are just so fun and it's so easy to get caught up in them. Do you feel me? I don't know. Do you struggle with that? How is it for you? Here I'm adding some indirect light, some reflected light. You'd also see this under the term ambient occlusion or ambient lighting, however you want to call it actually. Yeah, I'm doing that. In this step, I'm changing the color of the line art, which makes the whole piece feel more cohesive. It just brings it all together. It embeds the line art into the piece, but honestly, it's a stylistic choice. Sometimes I like to have a strong opposing line art, maybe even with a completely different color that doesn't match the rest, just so it stands out more, but sometimes I like to embed it this way. I was still missing some darker values somehow, so I'm adding those in the step. I'm adding some more lighting here in certain areas with a hard light layer. With that, this is the final piece. Let me know in the comments how you liked it and leave a like to this video if you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, please consider following, and I want to know, how do you interpret this piece? Let me know your opinions, your thoughts on it, and if your process is similar or if you do your art completely different. In this case, I went pretty much with a plan into this piece, but sometimes my art is an accident. Sometimes I go into my art with no plan at all and it just develops. But I guess in this one I had a pretty clear idea from the start. I like this piece. I hope you do too. Stay tuned for more and see you soon. Bye!